If you don't want to stand between us, I'll go over.
All right, let's start. Does anybody have any live blades on them? If you ever do, you should check, just in case. Yeah. We're good? Everybody feel good? Everybody has a practice blade?
I'm ordering some new ones to the school.
Okay.
We have to order a bunch.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, we can get them cheap.
Yeah, sure. As long as, you know, they're approved by me for this, you know, and they probably would be if, you know, so that's fine. So who's been practicing? Or this is your first practice in a while?
Doing
blades?
10-con.
Yeah.
I get a
I
little.
practice all the time, especially if I'm in the pool,
Yeah,
the movements,
Uh-huh.
water and stuff like that.
yeah.
I don't know, I always practice.
Okay, okay.
You taught me to move to a place of stability when I told you I didn't know where to move, but I knew I should move.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it very hard to visualize what that means. Very
Yeah.
hard to just take a.
Visualize afterwards or before?
The idea was to move to stability, and I couldn't picture, to me that just meant take a step, but it should be out of harm's way
Sure.
or into a place of advantage, and I have a real hard time, the only thing I could barely just, well, put it down properly, go
Yeah.
take a proper stance. I could not escape the madman running around, because I just do
Yeah.
this, I could not get rid of
Yeah.
that.
Well, one element of it is to trust your body and your body's history. And by that I mean like your prehistoric history and step, and then make your task to make it stable and settled where you stepped. Instead of prefiguring it and visualizing it and determining, I'm gonna step here, because that's
Mhm.
mathematically more, just step, so that you're moving your center of mass out of the way and or into something advantageous, which is often the same, and then be settled and stable there. You know, so if Ed steps, you can just punch this to step. If my step is this, I'm not gonna end up stable like this. So again, slowly, if I step this way, I'm not gonna end up stable. So if my feet move away from each other and it moves my center of mass away from the blade, perhaps closer, so that I can, you know, do my cool stuff, then my job is now to be stable and centered and settled in this, right? It doesn't have to be unnamed stance. But if your feet are, you know, unstable in this, you know, sort of relatively straight line, too close together or too far apart, then you're not gonna feel that, right? But if you just decide, I'm gonna move my center, you'll probably end up with your feet in a sort of moderated relationship to each other. Yeah? Okay. Anybody else questions on what you've been practicing?
Just come, I have been doing a lot of that kind of movement, not with a knife, because I
Yeah.
won't move. But with my students, it's a good thing for me and a good
Yeah.
thing for them. So in that sense, I would practice, and I keep the knife in mind, but it makes me do it.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's do a little bit of that practice to warm up. So, Ray and Josh, Ed and Dave, and I want you guys particularly do it slow, because I want you to be excitable and not thinking about your knee, even though the practice is kind of not think about your feet too much, just move. So I want you to get a hint of that practice, but not with having any speed. And if you two guys end up having a bit more speed and you're comfortable, that's fine. I still wouldn't start there. Try not to go so fast that you're gonna bump into stuff over there. Get that on the wall soon.
That's the exercise of the week.
Yeah, so the person with the blade will just,
Shoulder and hang?
so the exercise, the person with the blade will offer one thing, and they're just gonna do one step. Maybe it's a two-part step, maybe it's a step and a pivot, maybe it's just a pivot, you know, and that step can be backwards, sideways, forward, you know, whatever it is. And see if you can get into all your S's the moment you have your step.
Feet, start with feet together, or?
Wherever you want to. So one of you guys do it, and then just walk with me, sort of over here, something like that. And you guys can be kind of here. Yeah, like here and here, something like that, yeah. Then you should be on the camera.
Do you wanna, and then just go from where you end up?
No, just repeat the drill over and over, just keep offering, you know, you can restart.
Before you do your balance, set.
Very nice.
Big thing.
Trying not to think about it, well, about it, but I'm thinking about it. It's good.
Yeah, why not? Better than next week's here. If I do it.
Do we don't see that?
What?
I don't see it.
I don't want to go away all the time.
Yeah, do it, try
I
to
got so
get
much grass, I gotta check with the other.
You guys remember all the S's?
No. Woods.
What's the first one? Avoidance. First S
Avoidance.
is avoidance.
Avoidance. Step. Settle. Stance.
Step. Step.
First is sense,
Sense, step,
so the second one is stance, which might very well be a step, but it may not be.
settle,
Sense. Step. Settle.
settle. One more.
There's a few more, not just one more.
Step. Sense,
The strike is not.
sense.
Keep playing,
I haven't written down, but.
Yeah, but if you haven't practiced them, they won't be in your head, right?
No, you're right.
Do Ray and Josh have them in their head?
Excuse
me? Ray and Josh have a what?
The S's?
I haven't.
Apparently
Step.
I was not here for the S's.
So step is not first, stance is first. Stance might very well be step,
I thought
but
sense.
it might not be. You might, for example, not need to move, you might just pivot.
Wait, but this is sense, right?
Well, sense is here and here and here, it could be a bunch of different things.
So sense.
But you have to sense that the attack's coming and what, you know, get a sense of what the attack is.
Sense is.
But we're sort of presuming that here in the drill, okay, Josh, I'm gonna, so, you know, that's kind of a given. So step, then what?
Settle,
Settle.
Settle before stable,
then stable,
Settle gives you stable.
Yeah. so sense, stance or step.
Mhm.
Settle,
no, stable. I was
Stable.
hinting at that, but you guys missed it.
stable, settle. Oh,
Right,
yeah,
it
'cause-
said
yeah,
stable.
yeah, you're not gonna settle if you're not stable.
Would you settle your house if the foundation wasn't stable?
No.
No, you make sure the house is stable, then you settle,
And
or the
settle,
relationship
yeah.
is stable, then you settle. You don't
Stable,
settle
settle.
and then look for stability. Right, sorry if that one hit home, sorry. Some of you guys are like, oh geez, no, you can do it, but then you get wounded. And then the cuts come deep,
That's a good one.
everybody's just crying, okay, sorry.
Wait,
So then what? What's the next S, Ed?
After settle, strike.
No.
No. No, after settle,
Sense again.
no.
Structure.
Structure? No. Yep,
Right?
yep.
Then what?
That's the last.
So you guys should be doing this drill as we're talking.
That's the
So
last.
then,
step.
every time you're doing it, you have a chance. Am I doing these things in this order? Am I leaving one out? Am I underemphasizing, overemphasizing? You know?
You use hands at all when we do this?
At which point?
I got that.
In the S's or in this drill?
In this drill, no hands.
So this drill is just to do the stepping part. So this drill doesn't get us through all the S's, but I am still quizzing you on that.
This way, yeah. Please continue.
What are the S's in order, Ray?
Stance,
Don't stop the talk, keep practicing.
stance, step, stable, settle. No. Stance, step, stable,
No, it's not stance, step, it's stance.
stance.
The stance might be something you step to get, right? But if you stab and you desperately miss, just really miss, right? Like make it a little obvious. I'm in the stand, I don't need to step anymore, like I can do it here. But I need to establish a step, a stance,
Okay.
which could very well mean stepping, likely does, right? But we can't say the first thing I do is step.
Well, I mean.
I may not need to. You may be grappling me and stabbing.
If I do this, it goes by.
Right, but you need to establish a stance, right? Which probably means stepping, fair enough, but we don't wanna say the first thing you do is step.
So, stance,
Right.
Especially when it's a wild animal.
Yeah, especially if you're pinned, like, you can't step, you know, but I need to establish a stance.
Try that.
So stance, then
I
what?
just go into like a front stance and drop it like a
No,
squatting
stance,
without
step,
without bending your head. Try to go strong without bending your body.
structure.
no.
Good.
Jeez.
And do it again. Try it out.
Dave, what are the S's in order?
Sense,
You got your phone.
Yes?
stable,
No.
yes,
No.
sense.
Josh?
Structure,
Sense,
Start over. Josh?
sense,
Sense,
stance.
No, hey, one person at a time.
Sense, stance, stable,
Yeah, speak as you're doing this, otherwise you're getting cut.
settle,
Good? Good.
and
So, now that Dave heard those, he can repeat them as he practices.
stance,
Yep.
settle, structure.
Yeah, you let that stable.
Sense,
Ray, what are the S's?
stance, stable.
No, only Ray is answering. Ray is talking, so you guys can benefit from what he says.
Sense, stance, stable, and, lost it.
Okay, Ed, your turn.
Okay.
Speak up.
Sense,
You guys are doing a great job with the
Stance.
video, where we watch Josh's back.
stable.
Start again, Ed.
Sense, stance, stable, settle, structure.
Good. Nice. Repeat them, Ed.
Sense, stance, stable, settle, structure.
Good. Repeat them, Dave.
Sense, stance, stable, settle, structure.
Good. If you guys do your Tai Chi form, this happens on every move, in this order. Can you repeat them, Ray? Please.
Sense, stance.
As he's stabbing you.
Sense, stance, stable,
The thing you're not doing, settle.
settle.
You didn't settle, you were up. So, Josh, your turn.
sense, stance,
So, Ray will stab you as you repeat the answers. There you go.
sense, stance, stable, settle,
Yep. Ed?
structure.
Good, good. Ray, I don't think you got them all out yet.
Sense, stance.
No, as he's stabbing you.
Yes. Okay.
Or slicing, I guess, I said stab. That's
Sense,
not good.
stance,
Just ability.
stable.
Start again, Ray? That's not
That's
good.
not good here?
No, you leaned.
Yeah, but if I did this with that.
Yeah, but we're trying to listen to him, so quickly I said no, that was it.
Okay.
Sense, stance,
Okay, do that again.
No, if you guys aren't listening to him, it's not paying off. His job is to say them, so they reinforce, because nobody remembered these. So you guys are practicing quietly and listening. Here goes Ray.
Sense, stance, settle, structure.
No. You settled before you were stable. Right? So watch. Here's what Ray just said. Ray said sense, step, settle. Right? Let me do that again without Ray standing in front of the camera. So here's what Ray said. Step, or sense,
Sense.
stance, and then settle. There's no stability there. Right? So again, all of them.
Sense, stance, stabbed, stable, settle, structure.
Good. That's not all of the S's, that's just all we've remembered tonight. All of them?
Sense, stance, stable, settle, structure.
Yes. Good. So watch this when he stabs. One, so say them as I do them, slow, really slow mo.
Sense,
Great, I'm almost dead.
stance, stable, settle, structure.
Good, keep stabbing. Oh, no structure. Right?
What?
I didn't do it with structure, so it didn't work. So that would be like this, get stabbed. No, try to stab. Okay. I need to have done all that, and actually, there is something here, right? I need some structure, right? It'd be like a crossing guard. There's no structure there. In that sense, it's sort of a charismatic structure. If they're just like, I wouldn't if I was, that's not gonna make you, you need somebody that's doing this, you know? They can't just be like, that's it, you know, there's no structure there, right? So you have to be substantive in spirit, in energy, in flesh, in breath and mind. You have to have structure. Why is settle so important? You guys can change partners, keep going. Same pace.
Good, take it.
Because you're relaxed when you're settled.
Who else has that answer?
It allows the other conditions to exist, to become.
What do you mean?
We have to settle to gain our stability so that we can engage our structure.
Ed, why is it so important to settle?
Because if you're standing up, you're gonna be off, standing too tall, you're gonna be off balance, settle, get your center lower to the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and is what leads to the structure.
Yeah, that's all good. Anything else, Frank? In terms of internal arts, why are we settling?
You got it. For key, or sheet, whichever.
What happens to you emotionally when somebody comes at you with a knife?
Feel response,
Right? What does settling do?
relaxing.
Right? It challenges that common result. Right? So we know that that's something that's going to be happening. And by regularly settling, we're offering a counterpoint to when you come at me with a knife, there's a counterpoint to that. I'm proactively, but if he does that and you're stabbing me, remember? Stabbing me. Remember, if he comes at me with a knife and I settle, no, you're stabbing me. If he comes at me with a knife and I settle, okay, I can't really settle first, right? I need to have a stance. a stable stance, not just anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Then I can settle into that. So I'm countering the cascade of hormones that's definitely on its way. This guy's stabbing me, or cutting me, or I think there's a knife, or whatever, right? So I'm settling into something,
Okay.
right? I'm building a thing that I can settle into. But if I said to you, here's 10 acres of land, you're welcome to build a house, you don't just go, oh, it starts here, let's build the house here. You survey the land and figure out where the house goes. Next to the water, away from the rotting tree, near the this, away from the, like you figure out where you're gonna settle. Like you site, S-I-T-E, you cite the settling. He stabs, I think if I settled here, I'd say, a little structure, I'm ready to do whatever it's gonna be. So I decide where I'm going to release myself. And it's gonna be over there, in this stance. And then I actually can do that thing. Instead of telling myself, oh, I guess just relax, man, settle, okay. I wanna figure out where I can do it and how to do it. So you have your plans for a house or your timbers or whatever it is, and then you figure out where they're gonna go, and then you establish them, and then you settle in, right? And then you have a structure, right? You employ the structure, in the house analogy, building the house, I guess. Kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Don't make me get the Lincoln Logs out. Once you get this.
I just want to read.
Remember, we're just reviewing. These words, all S's, are designed to get somebody that doesn't have any of the studies that you guys have with me to be able to do the things that you do with fancy Chinese words, right? Front stance, sung, pong, blah, blah, blah. Just S, 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 S. Yeah. Big aspect of the settling is having an alignment, right? A verticality, so that you can't settle. Why are your palms open like that? Yeah. So last S, I'll just borrow Dave this time. So I sense that there's an attack coming. I can't talk that fast. Thanks, Ed. That's perfect. Don't let the camera see any of this. Remember when I did
Oh,
this?
I didn't.
I did that. He's cute though. So first I sense and I decide I'm going to take a stance, which in this case I need a step for over there, right? Mostly so the camera can see me. And so I achieve that stance. I settle into it. I deploy a structure, right? So I have my alignment. That's the settling part. And I have a structure. So I'm here, but there's no life to me. So I have my structure. And then I want the last S is sense connection. I want information, right? So, whatever that particular thing looks like, but we know it doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like this. It looks generally forearms, back of the hands, and that could all change, depending on exactly what I'm doing, however this looks. And so the way we practice this, he stabs, is this all happens, boom, 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 boom. It doesn't happen this way, right? That's reaching for sense connection actually took me out of alignment. It didn't really matter about where I was building the house doesn't get built. It's all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which as he stabs, might look like that, and I'm pretty reasonable. So he should feel through this that I'm ready. I don't love this, he's got a knife, I don't. But he should feel right now that I'm the wounded wildebeest, that's why he decided to stab me instead of somebody else. So he feels like this, like a lion, and I'm a wildebeest. Is that fair? Like that's why, for whatever reason, he went for me instead of somebody else. But at this moment, he should feel like, oh, it's another lion. We're competing for territory, right? And maybe he has a good sense of himself, and he's the alpha lion, and I'm not. I'm the upstart. You know, I don't know. But you don't feel like I'm a wounded wildebeest. You feel like, oh, there's something happening here, right? So that that sense connection is a two-way street. I get information about him, I give him information about me. Right? That should happen every time. And notice that this is not taught. See it, always go to the outside with your lead leg, adopt a stance number 3 from our system, do block number 4, cover number 6, and then always go for his elbow. Or it's not that. It's just, do I sense it? Where's the stance? How do I be in the stance? What's built on top of the stance? And what am I looking for? Initially, I'm looking for sense connection. Right? I'm not saying always go here, always have this guard, do the combo number 3. I just want sense connection. I would love it if I could say precisely to small intestine 11 is a great thing. We always want to do that, and then we, in our system, we always get this on the end of the bicep. I just want to have sense connection. Whatever that happens to look like, I'll take it, because it's better than this. Right? We can't have it in our minds that I have to get to position number 3 that our system teaches is the best thing. Can't do that. Right? What I am doing is I'm working on myself. What can I do myself in this system? And it's largely about, if I have those things, I know what I saw, I know what I'm building on, I know where I'm building it, I know what's built on it, I know what grows from it, right? So I talked about a house. I can also think of this like planting a tree. Where do you want to plant it? Or whatever, any kind of green thing. Where do I want to plant it? Well, I don't want to plant it here because that's where the lightning comes, or that's where there's no water, or that's where the other tree's going to fall on, or whatever. That's the acid soil, whatever. Where do I plant it? I want to plant it over here. So that's a good root. That's a good stance, right? And what do I want? Stable, and then settled in alignment, right? You don't plant it in the ground this way. Here's how it's, and then what happens? Structure comes, right? Which you might stake and give a structure that way if you're putting your plants in. But ideally it comes from the thing, and then things grow from that, right? So where do I want to plant this thing, and what grows from it? Same notion. Okay, a bit of wisdom, right? So we had this a few months ago. We brought a plant as a tree, to symbolize somebody's loss. We're going to plant on this Tai Chi property and do a ceremony for the person and dig a hole and all the rest. And so I say, well, okay, we got it in the bucket, and let's just put it here. We think it'll probably go here, or maybe over here is okay, but we're not digging a hole. Let's just kind of move it around and turn it and consider what are these trees doing, where's east, and how rocky is it, kind of thinking. But it's not our property, so we also have to wait for the owner to actually, it's really up to you. Here's our best guess. We have sort of 2 options. We think for a bunch of reasons here, but if you don't like it, also here we think would work. But it's totally up to you, of course. We have our reasons. If you ask, we can share them. But your place, you can just say, autocrat style, here's where I go. So he's like, why do you think there? And we gave him a bunch of reasons. We think the soil this. We're pretty sure that the canopy here is going to open enough when that tree fell, that we're going to fell that tree so that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, yeah, I kind of like it. And he's like, Is it really, he's an old Tai Chi guy. You know. It's like, here's what I think is, I think we should plant it where, and we're all, right? And this is how long he takes. He goes, I think we should plant it where the hose reaches. Right? And we were like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. It was just like the most simple, like Yankee wisdom, you know. And it's like, I don't know if he meant it as this really profound thing, the way he paused, or he was really just thinking it through, or he's just a little old, he couldn't think of the word hose. I don't know. But we all took it like, oh my God, that's the most, for this long pause, where the hose will reach, like that. We had a list of 9 pros and cons for the acid soil and the canopy and who would see it, and he's like, where the hose reach? I'm like, that's pretty good thinking there, you know. So similarly, I've achieved all those things here, but the hose doesn't reach. So now we just roll the dice again, it doesn't kill me the next thing he tries. So I do want to be able to have the hose reach whatever else is happening. I feel like whatever my stuff is, it has a shot at working here. So as much as I don't like being this close to somebody with a knife, I like this less. Right? If I'm down the driveway, that's fine. If I can get that distance, but I can't know that. Right? Okay. So there should be one partner you didn't have yet. Take that partner. I need you, every time you guys are going to do it slower in terms of the time between reps. And I want you to say the S's each time. If you mess them up, then you get stabbed a second time, so you get a chance to repeat. If not, as soon as you get the S's, your partner has the blade, and you say the S's as you do it. Doesn't matter if you say them exactly as you do them. It doesn't matter if you say them exactly as you do them, because it's the timing of, but you need to say them in order. And ideally, your partner goes slow enough, it sort of syncs up with as you're doing them. Right? And vary it. You guys can turn different ways, take different steps, you know. You don't have to just do the same sequence.
Stance. Stable. Settle. Structure. Information, whatever makes sense to it. Okay, so I go for you. Simple stance.
Sense, stance, stable, settle, structure.
The last one's sense. Good information, structure, and then sense at the end. Yeah. Sense, stance, stable, settle, structure.
Jump there, play hands and get it in.
Sense, stance, stable, settle, structure.
And then sense connection.
So
Sense
there's two.
connection is contact.
There's sense at the beginning, sense at the end.
That's what happens.
Well, first there's sense. You have senses that work at a distance and then work in contact.
Chuck a couple more.
So we probably start with the, you know, I see it, I hear it, or, you know, I get to pin my stomach or whatever. And then you want to connect your senses. So So like, for example, touch, or, you know,
Absolutely.
right?
Even C sometimes.
Yeah, can we see, yeah, so that's what
See,
it
that's what it's
says.
supposed to do, see.
No, it's sense.
Sense,
Because
okay.
it might not be seeing.
Yeah.
Somebody's behind you in a bar and it's
Yeah.
dark, it's not seeing,
Yeah.
it's sensing, right? And it could be all kinds of different things, right? You guys wanna be saying it every time.
Remember when you're saying this, I do,
Start with sense.
when you're saying stable, and make sure you are, and you're not tilted, same as me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Make
yeah.
sure I'm not
Oh.
tilted.
Or you'll come around a little back.
Sense,
Did Ray have structure that time?
No,
stable,
I didn't hear him say it.
settle,
they said it, but it's
Okay,
what, looking at what,
and.
so go slow enough that you can try and do the things as he says them.
What?
Go slowly enough that your partner can do as they say.
Sense, stance, stable, structure,
No, settle.
stable, settle, structure, sense,
Sense connection.
sense connection.
Because your positioning was,
Why?
because I was here, cutting your arm.
Yeah, if it was a real, if it was fast, I could've went like that or
Yeah, but that,
something.
this is the part of your arm you don't want to right?
Well, sensing it was, sensing it,
Yeah.
sometimes, like I was saying, for an example before, if you're getting pushed from behind
Sure.
into the knife,
Yeah.
that thing might hit you. What are you gonna do when it hits you? Like, you
Right.
have to know what it feels like for that thing to be hitting you.
Sure.
And the way that I went in on him this time, I went on him like this, but I did it kind of on purpose, because I could, I mean, it might cut me, but I could do something
Yeah, but
with
that's
it,
your wrist.
you know?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but
No,
if I was
just
getting
to try
pushed,
out that idea. Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
try to yank it or something.
No, that's reasonable in this format. Just test that out.
Yeah, I'm sorry, to forget what it is.
On
Sense,
the side.
sense, stance, settle,
Stable, settle,
settle.
structure, and
I'm not in a very good position here. So an instructor, I can use my
kind
hands.
of like that. I don't know, Michael.
Information.
Stance, stable, settle, and structure, and sense.
Hard. Light fights are really fast.
Oh, yeah.
Stance, stable.
But it also, yeah, figure maybe 50% of the guys that don't know what they're doing, the other half. In case.
One guy like, he's like, "Grr." The other guy like, sense, stance,
Stable, settle,
stability,
and sense.
settle.
Like it, I like it.
you know, I think by sense it doesn't mean let's
Yeah.
try to hold,
Yeah,
so
well, I
let's
know.
get the connection and then, and I'm guilty of it, which is why I pointed it out to you. How do we feel?
But if I can sense and achieve the same thing.
I like, I mean, you kept the line.
No, from the end. From the third. From the third. There you go. Spread it out like this. And then come down the same pace as each other.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Questions? What we did so far?
No, it's just.
Yes. Friday's lesson that you and I had, all of this falls under A, right? In A, B, D, C, this is all A. Isn't it?
It could all fall, it could all up under B too.
Well, yeah, I guess depending on the structure and.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could see it as all falling under A in the ABDC of armed combat, yeah. Yeah, so that's reasonable. And, you know, again, if this is like a Tai Chi class, then it's like, do your Tai Chi stuff right. And like, it covers all these things. The reason for the S's is none of them are martial arts terms, none of them are Chinese or Korean or Japanese or whatever, they're just normal English words, and they're very, very simple, and because they're all S's, that's why you guys were all able to remember them. I'll edit this. That's why you're all able to remember them so well, because there's just S followed by S followed by S followed by S, normal words. And then the doing of them takes the practice, and you have to remember. And a lot of times one thing does a few of them. Like the reason like when I step, I don't really break it down that I just step well. And I know why I chose to step there and what I do when I get there. And so it's sort of all one thing. But those are if any of those things are missing, if I'm the attacker, for example, or I'm trying to get the initiative in the conflict, if I feel any of those things missing when somebody, say, steps, I see where what's wrong. I see where to go. I see which wildebeest in the herd is limping, right? So even if they've stepped, if I see they're out of alignment or haven't settled, or there's no structure to them, but otherwise it looks good, then I know exactly what to attack. So me practicing them in that order also helps me see when something's missing, in the same way you see when your partner misses one. Your partner is your pretend opponent. And so when my opponent does everything except for have alignment, does everything except for have good footwork, does everything except for connect, does everything except or whatever, I can see exactly where they're weak, you know. I'm sure in tennis, if you know the other person doesn't have a good forehand, that's where you head with the ball if you can. You know, and you learn that. They don't have a good drop shot. They don't have a good this or a second serve, or like you play your game to try and get them, you know, you challenge them where they're off, right?
Can I make a quick
Please.
No?
Why don't you step on that, a note?
Yeah.
Step.
Can I
Yeah,
make-
go.
Sense.
Yeah, okay, so, Cabar Ray,
Yes.
Finish so borrowed, sir.
you're gonna have a blade now. You're holding blade now. Yeah, so, if you were handing it to me, you could support it if you wanted, but you were just kind of holding the blade, right? We're just gonna have like a back cut, right? So we're gonna actually take it slightly downward. Okay, and this would work either hand, we're just doing it this way. And so what I wanna do is I wanna turn all of these things into a motion. And I wanna practice passing. And what I should notice is that if I practice passing this, if Ray goes faster than me a little, he ends up, well, I don't know why you go all the way back there. So if he just speeds up a little bit, he starts to feel like he can just come at me, right? And so if I can cover, right, then you speeding up is sort of obviated, so that can be the one that's in contact. So I don't want to pass this like this. I also don't want to pass this here, where I had to come out of it so much. So I want to kind of find that balance with my weight shifting, moving him, and not overextending where I can't really reliably chase that because I'm busy with my own unsettledness, unalignment, and all the rest. Right. Okay. So, notice the back of my hand meets him each time. I'm not doing this, where I offer the palms. I'm passing and basically putting a brake on his, not that I necessarily stop this, but if you decided to speed up or move somewhere I don't like with control, like your first thing when you went back there, if you were doing that to check me, pull this back to Dave and check me. then you've separated me from the weapon, and that could be the reason to do it. Like, I would love to, you know. So, right, this is gonna require me to be able to move, right? Everybody clear? So we can just practice that much, you don't need the map for it, but you probably guess we will. How about Dave and Josh on this? Roll JD. Legally qualified as a judge. You guys can do it on the map, you just don't need it for this yet. I just wanted to put it out so I can complete.
I got a step before I think I'm not stepping fast.
Let's go slower.
Okay, yeah.
More than anyone here stands.
Maybe let's try it. Why don't you stand there? Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, he's trying to bring it down there, I think.
Oh, I just want to. Perhaps. Here. Get a little further away from the pass. I feel better with that.
Yeah. But you're not quite in the horsemen, you're not quite.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
That feels the best.
Yeah.
Okay.
This way, the back way.
We'll just do straight.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not telling you, I apologize.
No. Now you did what I did first. Oh, maybe that. No, you stepped the stance before you stepped in. Yeah, go slower with your hands. There, good.
I'm starting here, but I'm moving over to the side strut.
Yeah.
Yes. Change from this one.
Yeah, up here, yeah. Right here, yeah, there. I can move up here. I can't.
This, I'm not sure what's next.
But he wasn't good for him. He wasn't good for things. See, it comes. Oh, the wrong hand. Didn't work.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. This, what's the word now?
And when we're doing this, we, as long as we're settled and, or stable and settled, do we have to be in a precise stance?
I'm not trying to teach precise stances. So if the stance satisfies all these things, it works, it's functional. Is it one in this system or my system or that other system? Maybe, maybe not. But that's the judgment of the stance. You know, does it hold up? And, you know, in a real situation like this, it's not,
Yeah.
you know, but on the other hand, if I just do anything and it doesn't hold up, then that doesn't make any sense either, so. You know, you will find any stance you've been taught will work very well for these sort of things, because they will, you know, prove out all the S's, you know. Okay, how are we doing? Stuck? Good? Did you notice when you overextend, or when you lean, or when you reach? Or when you didn't quite step in enough to be able to pass it?
The backhand's kind of tough. A lot of reaching, a lot
Yeah.
of wanting to give up stance.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah, so you have to decide the size of that thing, or
You
maybe
get
step
taken
it
up
more.
easily too, I found
Yeah.
that I was gonna bite into it, and I was probably not.
Yeah,
Good.
Felt like I really had to make it feel like he was committing for me to
Right.
really
It
like.
feels 1,000.
that's a good point, that definitely makes a difference on this, yeah. Okay, we're good?
Good.
You have your blade?
That is my word.
Can you get it back?
And
Cool. Camera. Okay, so this could be either side, we're just doing it the side that you're happen to be working on. So I have the motion, right? Of course, I'm gonna have a guard here, which we didn't remind you of tonight yet, and checking. So as I'm doing this, rather than just here, I'm gonna step with this to prevent this, and also it allows me to really adjust. If I'm not quite close enough for that, I can take the appropriate step here. But I might have been able to just get it here, and everything's working pretty fine. Here, stepping. If I do that a little bit earlier, that's fine, but I wanna pass this leg. Notice I don't shift my weight, right? If I have this leg unweighted, and he was slowly going to reach it as we passed, you know, depending on this circle we have here. So you just know that that's gonna happen this time. Here, I can move. If I was doing this, I can't really move. I just have to hope I can energize my arm enough, or he hasn't cut me too bad. I'm committed here. So here, that could mean that I've shifted and then I'm shifting back here, right? That's reasonable too. But I'm gonna be stepping with this here. All I wanna be able to do is know where his elbow is. So this could be done by circling around, and it could be done by cupping over. I like this personally, but whatever I get is fine. So for example, some styles will teach this. Bring the shoulder to shoulder and hook, bring the elbow to the chest. I don't like that as much, but you know, it's doable. Here, cup. Remember what we did before this technique? Took the mat out,
Got it.
and that's why. Good. So again, one, clear, step, hook. Just, you can fall gently if you like. Just lead him down. Maybe that's a lot better, isn't it? The first one knocked the flu out of your lungs. Good. So I'll start again. So step, room to clear, enter. So notice I'm not doing this, you know, Ray's ready to push me with his left palm, or maybe even recover his blade. You reuse your blade somehow, find my body, like, yeah. So that's not what I'm doing, I'm here. That changes a lot, right? You should recognize this from the Tai Chi form, right? Shoulder plays guitar. So then I'm levering his breast, his collarbone, his delt, his bicep, whatever, wherever I kind of meet, and I'm levering here, and then I want to make sure that I know where that blade is, so you can find it right down easily. I want to make sure I know where that blade is, so that we can, you don't get to go where you want, you go where I lead you. We got to bring him down to a very nice bit of owning the blade. Right? So notice the finish is enough information for him to know that I have the blade. This looks really good, right? So just so you know, I'm threatening you with the blade, right?
Okay.
But of course Ray doesn't know that. So this is where Ray rapidly tries to get, don't do it, he rapidly tries to get out, flailing, punching, grabbing, whatever, and then I have to hurt him. Or of course he succeeds and I get hurt. Does that make sense? So this feels great because of all the information I have. Right? It would be like being a sniper and saying, don't do it, buddy, don't do it, buddy. Oh, you did it, I have to shoot you. Well, he doesn't know he shouldn't do it, you're a sniper, you're 3 miles away, or whatever, right? If you're standing there with a gun, like, don't do it, alright, they probably don't do it, right? So Ray doesn't know that, so he's probably gonna just say, oh, I better fight for my life here. But if I'm doing this, you know, or this, or where he sees it, right? Hey, I really don't want you to move, that's different, right? So we forget the information he has, cause I'm like, all right, man, just stay there. Like, why would he stay? You know what I mean? It's a knife fight, and I'm talking. Why would he, you know? But this, letting him know, that's where I ended. Let him know. That's enough information for him to make a wise decision.
Yep.
Okay. So that's only if you end up with the blade. So, 1, wait, enter. Right? Notice the thumb, we went over that before. Here, hook, lead him down. I'm turning, settling, levering, and you can find your way down. Kneel if you want. Yeah, good. So remember the cup? Just come up to control, right? And this could look a whole lot of different ways. Where I take the blade, you can tap. Yeah, there you go. Or whatever we do. Good? Okay. Try that, do the setup, and whoever has the mat, if you're feeling ready, you can do the takedown, but whoever doesn't have the mat, you can just do the setup. Have your partner watch all the yeses and watch where the weight is, if you're shifting back when you pass or not. Shifting back when you pass tends to lead them off balance and extend their blade as well, not just clear your leg.
The legs here, that's the hard part. That's the hard part. Just have to shift back.
I don't know,
Shift it back and shift it.
do 2 more and then switch. Does that sound good?
Okay.
It's this one, it's like this. It's that, you come in, and you come in.
I didn't,
It's that.
yeah, I didn't mean to, I found myself there on the pinch, but.
No, that's fine.
It's a pattern.
Yeah.
This is the time I started losing it. Go ahead. Pattern. The right
I'm not
place.
gonna do it. I should be doing it now, but I'm not gonna. I don't want you to be. I figured that out.
Holding that.
Switch it. Like you said, yeah. May I begin?
This is wrong. Hands underneath. Yeah, okay. Let me try once more. Well, you gotta leave it. Your elbow goes on his breastbone, right? Yeah.
You wanna roll and take all of this with you, I can show you, I think I got that right there.
Well, stepping in further.
But you don't give up your control point here.
The only thing is to just practice.
It's not being defensive all over the place, so you have to pick the place. to
Lean and get
So
your
it's
leg
like-
weightless right at it in the beginning.
And mine is
That feels good.
clear,
Yeah.
so you're extended, all of this comes in, and then
Then you step with
this
that
whole,
leg and
like
then
this
go
whole
over
thing,
weightless.
the whole entire thing.
He goes back.
My arm
the
is your
second.
arm, you claim
Then he
it,
steps with this
make it
forward.
closer.
Yeah, that's it. Stand from
I went the opposite direction. Okay.
Feel the leverage up there? Now put it down lower and see the difference.
And
Get your information.
Yeah, give me that up
Here, come down.
Yeah, this is your thing,
okay.
and you, so that you're gonna take some control there.
It was nice, that was very nice.
Yeah, I keep looking.
Actually, sure, I'm better than you. Are you okay?
In front of me? practicing putting your palm on the blade. If it needs support, this is a small one, you know, and that looks so little purchase that don't support it, that doesn't look like much. Even here, going to support it, I've seen people, right? So you wanna, this is a lot of support, a lot of grip, and a lot of support, not really giving you, also turned it the wrong way, very good job there, Josh. Also not giving you anywhere to grab it, so it's one of the challenges, right? So how do I have it and give you enough room to grab it? So it could be like this, it could be, that's pretty reasonable, and you know, this, I may feel that's good enough, I don't actually need to support this one, it's pretty small, right? Good, so why you grab it there? There you go, as long as you feel like you got it, that's fine. If you're not quite sure if you have it here, you might offer yourself support until you know you have a grip. You know, close it, yeah. So this is definitely more likely with a sword or a machete or something like that. Okay, so anyway, you were giving it to me. Good, a lot of handling of the blade there. All right, good, thanks. All right. So this cut, I'm just coming here so I have some math. You got it. So your weight's forward,
That's the hard part.
right? So no stable, you are, so you just reached and blocked, no stable, no structure, no, right? Weight's forward. So now, in order to keep it forward, and camera, so now you're forward. Now, in order to keep me away, because you're forward, you're really reaching. So your back heel wants to come up. You're starting to lean. You're starting to be overcommitted. So if you keep trying to follow that circle, you're gonna. Right now, are you okay or not okay? Like you feel like you're about to get thrown. I mean, if I had a grip or something like that, right?
Okay.
Okay. Good, but you didn't shift back. Right? If I have a machete, you would know immediately, that you'd feel the proximity. There you go. Now, you already shifted in, but it didn't bring this in with it, right? So now your hand preceded your weight and your step. Aha, that's right. That should feel like doing something like that, right? Here we go again, ready? So no step, no stance, no stability, right? You just reached out as if we're doing this.
Yeah.
But we're not. We're doing this.
Yes.
We're not doing, hey, Ryan, here's it. See, you're reaching with the hands. Right? That hand is a branch floating in the sky. It's not a tree, it's a fairy tale world. That branch doesn't get there until you plant the seed in the right place. It has alignment, it structures, it goes straight up, and it reaches out, and it flowers and all the rest. It gets there from a process, right?
Okay.
Yeah, nice. Shift. Now decide how you're stepping. So, yeah, there you go. Step. Yes. And then from here, I just rolled over and try and cup the elbow a bit more. Find the point of the elbow. Yeah, just a bit. Keep this sinking. Right. There you go. Now, pause. I had this way, controlling it, but if you got that, that's great. I like yours better. Good. So you're coming up. I don't know what happened to all the settling. Just use this to lever me. Good. That?
Oh, yes, what is that?
That's where you cut me with the blade by going too fast earlier.
Oh.
It's a wooden blade.
Oh.
Practice blade cut. Okay, good job, Doc. That's nice. There you go. Who's right? I'll need a blade if I can borrow a blade. Yeah, thinking about it a lot, right? So I have no idea how to grab it. I guess I got it.
What about that?
Okay, that's fine. I was just pointing it out. Good, thanks. You good?
Just let me get started.
Sure, sure.
Ready? Go.
Feel how up this is? Keep it settled, you'll feel like you have me a whole lot more.
Don't I want my arm, my elbow?
It's contacting me somewhere. Hang on, this is hang on, this is contacting me.
Yeah,
This is, that is, this is, like you should feel like
yeah.
wherever way you wanted to throw me or deal with what I do, you should feel pretty good.
I have to get my elbow just a little
Yeah.
higher.
Don't lean. Yeah. If you're trying to disarm me,
Hmm?
make sure you know where the blade's going when it falls.
It's going behind me.
No, I'm just in terms of your feet and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, don't just recklessly do it.
No?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if you're going for a tap or not.
No, no, just.
Yeah, you got the blade, that's great. Yeah, nice. All right, keep going.
Good. So on that. Move over, the camera's way with it.
Could I ask one question about the elbow placement?
No, back.
Yeah.
If, when we were doing it before, it seemed if
Back.
the elbow is too low, you don't have
Yeah.
leverage. But is that,
No.
doesn't, okay.
Generally speaking, in the Chinese arts, the elbow can't be too low. So I had ended up
Yeah.
here.
Same.
I don't really care. Like, that's good, this is good, that's good, this is good. I'm happy with all, they're all fine. I have so many, it's like a python around you. Which part killed you? I don't know, all of them, any of them, you're like,
They're all in unison.
yeah. What I like is it's like a high surface area. And as a martial artist, that should feel good. Like, if I need him to go north, south, east, or west, I'm pretty reasonable.
It's the back.
This way, you did this, and I had to think whether that was gonna change it.
Except this a little more.
Let me
Your
get
leg
some more
works.
to do. Yes, sir.
Your leg over
Yes,
nice.
sir. Thank you very much.
That's the hardest part.
Okay. You're all supposed to be easy.
Oh, yes, right there you go. Pass, back, with there. I'm going.
That's nice, Dave.
That's the old one, so that's.
And just make sure when you're doing that, you're stable, stable in your foundation knee. Otherwise, all of a sudden, for even just a moment, you're bearing his weight. That's our knee, sir. Not that Ed weighs anything. So, that's what I was saying, just cupping. And you should feel like if you wanted to push there, here, slightly down, a little outward, a little up, a little, like, there's so many kind of places, this is
We're connected.
like an auger, how is it touching the earth? Like everywhere, you know? And so whatever you particularly needed in terms of feeling it, you could push, pull, lever, you know, all kinds of options. And then remember, as he falls, if Josh has a blade.
Yes, sir.
You want me to do it, the whole thing,
Oh.
too? Just, yeah. That's not a cut we're working on. Yeah, there's a. Yeah, that's it, that's what we've been working on this whole time. Good, here. Here, entering, so you should have a feeling you can't just get away easily here. And here, so let's just turn around because we can't really have a mat. Yeah, okay, so I'll take you down here, is that cool? So I'm here, when I take him down, pay attention to this hand. You know, I'll probably do it after you fall, so make sure you're safe, but it probably happen as you fall. So he's going down, this becomes, you know, I'm not trying to deal with the blade here, maybe you bend your elbow here, think about my neck, right? But I didn't do that, I'm turning this into control the blade, and then we can look for a little bit of fun here. Right? So what's my threat?
My life.
Sure.
Step in.
So what do you think is the highest threat?
Stance, settle.
Stabbing.
Sure. So, well, maybe it's that, right? And if you think it's this, it could be this. Notice where I do with my leg. that keeps him from being able to deploy towards me.
In here?
You know what I mean? You would love to be able to turn a bit, you know what I mean?
Plus it's on your right.
And then that means his left arm can't really do much
You
to
have
me,
some
trying
punches
to
there
bother me
on
with
my
it.
own.
Yeah.
But if I was here, like maybe that has some, you know, for sure, right? So, since this is so small, right, notice I'm holding it at the end of the hilt, right, pretty stable, and splaying my fingers so that if it wobbles, you know, I can kind of stabilize it, right? I can also turn it into a grip if I need, and then you're pretty easy, full grip, easy. Now just don't pull, I'll ask
It's
you
not a
to
leg
pull
toss.
that towards you.
It's not a leg toss.
No, yeah,
Well,
so
it's over the leg.
you don't wanna do that, so you wanna just hold it or just carefully, you know,
I thought he was actually going on his leg.
because I've seen people with this pretty good handoff and then thinks, well, what just happened? Right? Nobody's ready for a live blade.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like,
That's why I was saying, like, just holding with one finger is almost better, because the other person.
Which is what I just did, really.
Finesse. and
Yeah, exactly. With that particular blade, I'm still on the end of
this is
the
instructions,
scabbard.
this is how this is
Or the hilt.
sense, stance.
No, stable, and then settle.
Stable gives settling.
Before I get the
I
leg.
want to say settling gives stability, I can't get
Oh,
it
the
right.
guys do this one wrong. They settle down before things are stable. You can just sort of shift the lever. And you should have, see this, that's good. You should feel like it's a chance to get behind him. Relax, right here. But here,
You do that.
and then just settle, turn, and lever, whatever the points of levering are. And now just slide this up to the wrist. Where, I'm getting cut, guys. Slide this up to
But
the
we need
wrist.
to,
Yeah.
you must get the first, you must start with sense. Stance.
The thing that was getting me though, I mean, they come.
Yeah, you didn't achieve a stance, you just reached and buttons.
I know,
You
I
reached
think
and buttons.
before you weight the leg, you get a stance, then you can weight the leg for a.
Yeah, but if you don't particularly need to, you don't need to wait in the first place. But I think most people, you're gonna wait it
Just
to
do
get
that.
to clear, and then bring it by,
Think of it.
enter, throw, slide, and finish. Finish up, fellers.
But it's a backhand with the left, it's not a,
Okay.
it's this one. Very well said. Thank you. Is this yours?
No, it's,
How are we doing?
We are.
I'll borrow Randy again, because then you can follow. So same setup, same cut. Offline, that could have been a little bit of this, if that's what we're doing. We happen to be doing a lead hand, is what we're, it's not because it's the right answer, it's just what we did. That means my other hand's protecting. So stance, after sensing, right? Stable, settle, structure, sense connection, right? And since I'm leading, it's because of that sense connection, I know to shift there to give plenty of, what do you call it, of the right of way, I guess, here. Enter. Now, I'm gonna start to throw you. I'm not planning to dump you, so give me try and stay up a little after. Yeah, okay, so good. So another way you could have done that is just sort of stepped, as it, step back as I try and throw you down. Just and that kind of worked pretty well actually. Let's do it again. That's why a lot of times you'll see the step behind or also the counter sweep. But let's say I'm here and I'm trying to do this, and Ray just kind of steps, kind of buys him room. Let's do that again. So step back and kind of return to combat ready, with your blade and like you can imagine something like that happening. That bad for me, good for you. The reason that was bad is I had expectations. I wasn't in the moment, and then you also had expectations of getting back to the moment, right? So 1, 2, 3. We're just going to practice now. If Ray steps back as I start to lever, right? I'm going to just fold this and take him down this way, right? So when I do that, I should be able to bring the blade to my own hand, and you can let go of the blade.
Okay.
There we go. Good. And again, suggest the threat, right? So what's the threat here? You could say a bunch of things, and that's my idea, right? I would probably settle here and
And
be
be stable
ready for
about it.
this. But again, you know, Ray could be thinking Zankyo, you know.
Yes.
Right. So, here, I was just gonna teach you again. So here, pretty stable, right? Good. Same deal, let's shift a bit so you have Matt when we go down. Good. Boom, boom. Here, coming in, I'll just pause here so it's not reckless. But this is, everybody feels ready, so I'm gonna start to do this, he's just gonna retreat. And again, I'm gonna pass this and use this to fold him. But notice I'm controlling where that is and leading him down, shifting forward. Good. So when we're done, I should be able to use my inside hand to challenge him. Good. So what does he think the threat is? A bunch of different things, right?
Number
So
one,
blades
I
up,
can't stop out. Like-
Right, that's a big problem. Careful the blades by your feet too.
It's rather smooth, it's a very nice turn of the left hand, looks like there's a loss of contact.
Just
And
like-
Oh, man, please.
I don't think I do that with this hand yet, I think I only do it with my other hand.
Right? So, kind of makes sense? Yeah, nice. Good. Okay, give that a try. Where are you at? So, so,
Justin, why don't we just
generally speaking, like an inside arm right, basically.
Falling down.
And you just step back, and it kind of solves that. And then I'm just gonna turn this into a fold.
One stepping back.
And I can step again if I want to, usually that'll do it. So it's just, instead of feeling, if you start to do the cover with me,
Your arms come in front of his.
okay, so go to do the throw me.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap all
Throw
of
me.
the
Like having
Yeah.
that happen,
Yeah.
where it's just you're sort of demanding the throw.
Yeah.
Settle into
When
it.
I step back,
Pretty much
just
like
use this to
You
fold.
wanna line them, just go in
Yeah.
circles?
Yes, and
You
it
call them that.
doesn't matter if step back.
And then you'll take,
So it's just being like, yeah, that's fine, if you wanna go down that way.
it's back in,
Yeah. The nice little functional flow from the inside arm bar to the, yeah. So don't wrestle here, once you have that, I just wanna, Dave, you're where they got to, those two, I don't know. Settle, turn,
I said line go.
There you Once we have all these,
Just come
once
out.
we have all these things connected, let me show you guys something. What are all the things again? You're not doing anything, just hanging out, bouquet style. What are all the things? The assets.
That's his sense.
Good, right? What else? So,
Stand.
here's a stance. What else?
Stable.
Stable, so I'm stable, that's
Settled.
So now I'm settled.
Structure.
Structure, I
Sense.
definitely feel that. And
Sense.
so, sense connection, right? So that should feel bad in terms of martial arts. What are the things again? Sense, okay, fine, we probably don't need that, I kind of started there, yeah.
Snap, slice.
So stance, good, so I can change my stance here, or in this case, I would pretty good one.
Stable.
Definitely stable on it, so I'm gonna settle, and I'm just gonna add to the settle, spiral, and I have a throw. So you could put me in almost any position, if I have those things with contact, and I spiral as I settle, I get a throw. So Ed chokes me, for example, I do all those things, spiral as I settle, I get a throw. If I have that connection, right? So what we're doing here, I'll do it from the outside, we were doing this kind of thing, he steps back with his left probably, right? And I just do this, and I just do all those things again. I probably don't have to sense particularly, like I'm already been sensing. but I'm settling and spiraling. It's not ripping and tearing, just settle and spiral. So the settle has a turn, a rotation to it, and you're in good shape. And I keep the structure there, of course, definitely. So you can almost always find a throw if you have connection, you know, and you're built on a good stance.
Should we continue on that?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, please.
Since
Yes, you.
Ed's taking a step out, whoever's doing it, do it on one person, then the next.
That's what we
You
have.
Do it twice.
We got a line.
Okay.
I like it.
I'm gonna. Oh, okay, just do that. Okay, so, all right.
Step back, yeah.
Okay. And then,
Figure 4.
I like it.
Please. Just be aware of the knife. So somehow you're not behind him when you step, so it's gonna be a little hard to throw him comfortably. I don't wanna throw Dave anyway, so.
You're the only
I don't wanna throw him, he just had surgery on his neck,
That's right.
so we're not wrestling.
one. Who's next in line?
If we get him to feel, if we can get Dave to feel, just in general, if we can get Dave to feel how this would be off balancing you, right? That's fine, we don't have to.
Give it a tap.
Yeah, just to feel like, oh, I get it, I see where I would go. I don't know how you ended up on the inside of the cup.
I'm telling you, it's leaky here, man.
So you reached with the wrong side of the hand and before you had stability. There's no point if you're reaching, you're just saying, how about cutting me here before I'm ready? Get yourself ready. I didn't see what you're saying, you're probably right. I didn't see it. Yeah. Yeah. And that's probably a transition you've seen before.
I am not just on that. I'm not just on that.
Yeah. There you go.
Still close, still close.
Don't
You the guy, you made something work.
Come on.
You can do it.
Am I?
You can do it.
I'm your rookie, man. I'm your rookie, man.
On the solid.
Yeah, that was a picture of the gallery
Yeah.
and the lighting. I like that a lot.
Like,
No, no, really?
like the elbow in the throat there, do you notice that?
Move your feet.
You-
Those comprehension.
So you didn't quite move out of the way well. So take the step first. You want to move your organs and central nervous system off the threat. So we had been advancing with the left foot on this.
Yeah, I feel like it's, I don't wanna go that far. I feel like I wanna stay away a little bit.
Yeah, that's only because you know he's going to continue this big arc. But you don't know that at this point. You're getting to the position of, let me deal with this threat, and now here's how I'm choosing. I'm trying to let it pass, and therefore we're shifting. Yeah, that's not good. So you're leaning, you lost your alignment. Right? If you preserve your alignment, you can bend your knees and decide where you want to step to influence him. Yeah, now shift back to let it pass. Now enter right leg, right arm. Control where the blade is. There you go. So just have a sense of, okay, so this allows us to practice a low and a high pass. Right? So if this is a blade, this allows me to practice this low pass, which I don't love, but it happens, and then it allows me to practice this high pass here. But notice that I'm back of the hand, and look at, I'm maintaining this. If anything goes sour, I can always turn it into either one can grab, and I can elbow, you know, I have a lot of options here. And I can certainly pass back to the outside, check it down, push you away, hook, drive, or extend. Like, I have a lot of options from here. And the reason I'm saying that is I want you to be able to feel those options as you're going. Doesn't look safe, but like literally threatening your spine. It probably makes you stand up straight, but like, yeah. Yes, Mom, yes. How was that? Yeah, it's great. It was great.
I hope you threw all you-
Yeah.
Had a real,
Colorado?
Colorado.
I won't stop it, I just wanna make sure that it's partially honest, I don't wanna give you a point, because I know you wanna work
Yeah.
your stuff. Oh, I'm not gonna say anything, because you know that.
It's just the vibe out there.
I know,
You're only on the floor,
It's so
because
The
crazy.
mountains
county
coming
way.
way, things so amazing.
People are
It's slow.
actually happy.
Slide
Yeah.
yourself, but-
It's fine. I kept on saying, oh, I'm about here.
Yeah. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, much more.
There's so many people doing that.
Did you see what happened when you charged? I had no
It's
choice.
super sweet out there.
Yeah.
They have really nice facilities and stuff like that too.
I'm stuck.
Very-
I know, I'm gonna find out, all you guys know, in one lovely half hour session, every phone in my pocket.
It feels like that way in California.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I'm out
It's
there,
only-
I'm
there's a truck.
same in Albuquerque.
She left that?
It really
With the
feels
help from the
that
right?
way.
It was
Yeah,
stacked
just
there.
the damn so much.
Yeah.
But it happens
You
here.
do this in class, I've seen
Yeah.
you,
Yeah,
so
oh,
there
yeah.
you are.
You know.
And you're in.
It does.
Man, it does.
It's funny, like I was running today and I was.
Now you're reaching with your hands.
Yeah.
You gotta move your organs and central nervous system,
Right,
and then they have a place from which to launch the hand, or the forearm, we might say. And so he didn't step before you transitioned.
I
So you needlessly passed your head, even though in theory you would have thrown him there, it's just,
Yeah.
we're not trying to throw Dave. And
I got it.
that was very good though overall, Ed, that was nice.
He likes to do that thing.
Remember, it's just connection, spiral. Settle, spiral. I didn't feel you really meet it. I felt you fear it and reach for it, right? So when he cuts, I'm meeting him, right? First responder thinking, something's bad, here I go, right? Once I get there, I put the brakes on, I drop the feet on the truck, I radio in, and then I say, get the axe, get the fire extinguisher, get the hood, or whatever you're supposed to do. I deploy those things after I'm there, then I deploy those things, right? If he steps here, that's where I transition, notice the shift again, right? And then you can feel that would be enough to lead you down, yeah? Okay.
This is why we practice the very first time with no hands. Because the hands don't work if we don't take the right stance.
It's hard, that's why I say we have to practice this regularly, right? This is developing skills and then sharpening those skills. You have to, every time, is this happening, is this happening, is this happening? The stakes are really high, this is not like maybe getting punched out at a Thanksgiving party and you're drunk uncle and then you clean up after. Like, this is definitely life and death, you know? The other thing statistically is, but of course it's also not very likely to be.
You wanna go there?
Did everybody go enough times? Do you need a little bit more?
I'll keep going, I'm gonna start doing it worse.
So that time both your arms reached, you didn't really have one in reserve, right? Step, trust it, one, the other one's in reserve, which in this setup, we have a thing to do with here. If we watch the technique that we're doing, watch me. should see over and over things that we do in the form,
Mhm.
right? Over and over in this one little sequence, you should be able to see, oh, it's like 6 things that happen in the form every day. And then in the form, like, oh, that's that, like that one part, no, it's not the whole thing, over and over. I thought we were gonna do some shrimp up tonight.
This is like that shit over here.
Except you just, instead of this, your hands just go over.
I'm thinking next month we'll go back to some flexible stuff.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, that's good.
It was a lot cooler
So one
than before
arm.
when I had
If
these.
you do one arm,
Well, not too bad, doesn't feel
No,
as
this
bad
is-
as it would be.
I have a few little furnaces working in here.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, that power, boy, my generator, I didn't even realize it was a power thing. The flipper, the generator went on so fast, I was working on the computer,
Yeah.
the computer kept on.
Yeah,
Just, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
I just got
So-
an auto start and that, my clocks didn't even have to be reset. Everything went right on.
yeah. How,
It wasn't long at all.
it must have been local, I didn't.
Yeah, and I followed the truck down to Egypt
Yeah,
Lane,
that's no
put some
notifications.
wires down.
Oh, okay,
But it was like over 1,000 people,
really?
or 1,000 houses.
What, it was like a squirrel kind of thing?
I
or
don't know, I
a
didn't
tree
know,
branch or
I don't
something?
know what it was, but.
It could probably be traced to shoreline trees, there are some limbs out there.
yeah, don't trust those guys.
You don't trust it, you're on tape too. There are shoreline trees, their slogan is, let things fall where they may.
Run!
It'll work itself out.
Throw directly onto the pile.
Ah, no skill.
Getting chainsaw cotton trees
See that?
since 1973. Now, see, both hands are reaching. So now your right hand is reached before your leg. Let me do the technique again, please. So, what am I doing? Sense, then what? Stable, right? So, I'm in a stance, stable, settling, structure. Right? Of course, all that pretty much happens right away, you know, it's not, you know, a big delay. And then sense, right? Connecting my senses, right? In this case, I'm gonna let him go and lead him and give him a little bit of room to do that. And notice where my hand is. He can't move in threatening directions. He can go in directions that take him longer to get to me. But I'm coming in and I'm here, right? Now I'm gonna try and move him, but he steps. That gives me a chance to pass again. This hasn't changed, right? It's just a fulcrum, relax with me. It's just a fulcrum. And so I can, you wanna go down or not? Okay, so you can feel where the go down is, that's fair enough, yeah, good.
Go down.
I didn't notice that before, and I think that was maybe a big thing with why we weren't able to transition before, is because when Steve had me, he had me like this far, my arm was like this on my body. And I think that's a big reason why you were too far this way, like my arm was here. He had me here.
He was straight the whole thing, yeah.
I'm not going into this,
No,
but it could be, yeah, the same idea, yep.
Because with the arms on the right place on.
Nice, Dave. Now enter with the arm and the leg, because you want to keep him from. Yeah, nice. There, don't pull him. This is the lever. This is here. Somewhere in here is going to lever, depending on. It's a little on the breast, a little on the bicep, the AC joint, wherever it happens to be. You're going to have something to lever with. And yeah, this could certainly curl if you wanted to, you know, cup his wrist a bit with your fingers. See what I'm doing with my fingers? Yeah, if that works out.
He has stepped back, and this is where I lost
He
it.
stepped back, and now you're just gonna keep this right where it is and transition this. So this has to shift your weight. Yeah. See, this stays there. Don't bring it back. There's your lever.
Oh, that, I still can't do it. You're halfway down and I still can't do it.
So a lot of
Okay.
times that same
Thank you
lever,
for your-
instead of being done this way, we can see what the lever is here, and will be done this way. It's the same, it's just
Yeah.
one arm doing the same, but it's the same lever experience
Mhm,
for you,
mhm, mhm.
sorry, as this. It's just we happen to get here, that's what we're doing. But it's the same exercise here, doing either one of these. Right. And you notice when I was doing that, when I make that transition, I come across to the eyes.
We saw
Right,
Josh
so
say,
you, so you have that coming right across if you wanted. So if I had a blade, and I do. Is it okay for you?
It's very nice.
So same setup. One, two, boom, right? Here's the throw button, he steps back or whatever, so I'll lever this and come across. Or one, two, three, passing. Instead of my thumb, I have the blade coming in, and you know, again, just so we have more to do, clearing, relax for me, clearing, and now when I'm coming across, before I was using my fingers, but I can definitely commit them to fall a lot of different ways here. Same kind of setup, right? Okay, thank you. Who wants to do it to me? Okay, nice and slow. Feel ready? I got the blade. Good? So you were overextended and you're dead. You see how you reached your right arm instead of stepping?
I did.
Okay, again. So that was awfully rigid. This is listening. Yeah, nice. Now there is structure behind it, right? Lead, nice. Good. And then you chased it and you're in trouble. So you didn't quite control me and or you didn't have enough timing to get there with the other hand. And so then you chased it and then I led you and cut. And notice I'm just looking for where the error is. See, he's leaning. You lean with your chest. So you had been aligned and then you were a little there. So I just led that, and then obviously it's easy to kind of step. I want to do one more exercise when we're done with this, and then we're done. Do a lean, and then your leg hurried, and this is already here. A lot to do, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So that time you met with this instead of got here. Get there and then extend that. I know at this speed it seems like, yeah, it's too late. It'll all come together, but you have to know what the things are that you're doing, like the ABDC. Like it seems like a lot to do. Better? Yeah, nice. Lead. So that time right at the end, in order to avoid it, you lost your posture to try and do it. Right? That hand didn't do anything. Yeah, better. Feels good, right? Nice. Good. And I step here just so you have more to do. And nice. Don't get excited. Keep your shoulders and elbows down. Just lead me. Turn to, yeah, you weren't. Yeah. Very nice. And your hand traveled up to the wrist too at the end. Like you could have, I ran out of room, but you could have controlled it very nice.
Well, it wasn't 11:30 at night.
It's not that late. Okay. So last exercise, I'll do it with Ray. So I'm just going to do one threat, and you're going to do your S's.
Okay.
right? And so that, we're not doing a whole complex move, you're just gonna get to a rear contact, right? So it doesn't really matter, I'll just vary it.
Stance.
Yeah, and if you guys don't wanna say them out loud at this point, that's fine, but if you want to, that's fine. So he's done that, so I feel his structure, I feel his contact. Let's do that again.
Stance,
Stance.
stable, settle.
And a lot of times a good stance means you are
That's those
stable and
things.
settled, like, you know what I mean? Okay, so, right, and now he's, yeah, that's better, but I don't know why you chose palms instead of forearms. That's reasonable, because that is a forearm, and it might as well, that's fine. But it felt like it was just patty cake both palms. I know, but you're going ahead to doing that, so you didn't get to the point of protecting yourself with armor and listening and establishing that. Right, so again,
Stable, settle, and structure, well, that's not good, structure.
again,
Stance, and stable, settle.
good, yeah, so
structure,
nice, good. So
and-
that, don't turn into another thing, let's just get that done again.
Okay. Stance, and settle.
Yeah, but this already reached
Yes, it
before that.
Stance, settle.
Stable,
Stable,
settle, structure.
Yeah, it's fine, but that feels like you have so much energy in these that you're actually doing a thing instead of listening.
Okay.
So that should be in your being, but not here.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so I'll do what I'm gonna do this time, you're only doing that, that's it. Okay. This isn't because Ray did a thing wrong, but once I feel, no, you're only doing that thing. Once I feel this information, what my practice is to remember that this is alive. What's the difference between alive and dead things?
Heartbeat.
Sure, what else?
Oh,
What else?
live moves.
It moves. It's alive. It's moving. This is what's great about a blade. It moves. Right? I am not afraid of a baseball. But one of them hit towards me in the stands, I'm afraid of. The moving is the fear. Right? Moving is change. Change begets fear in those that are gettable. Anyway, look, it's late. So, my job is, this is less about you practicing your S's, but you might as well, is when I feel the contact, I don't stay committed to that thing I was doing. I realize that this is alive. If you touch a living thing, it moves. Pretty much across the board, right? Sorry, Steve Irwin. Okay, so here, once I feel that, I want to move into another threat, which could be a finish, a touch, a literally like, oh, you see, you know, doesn't really matter. But I don't want to feel like that's what I practice. I want to feel like when I feel that, I find the next direct. Doesn't mean I finish him and I always get to his pancreas or something. It's just that I feel that, I move into the next direct. And it doesn't mean I just articulate the wrist. It could very well mean I feel that, and so I move my body, and I barely move my wrist, and I end up in the neck. And so the practice is, do I hesitate, do I pause, do I get overly committed to what I was doing? And he feels rigidity and momentum, right? If any bug is going wherever it's going, you touch it, it goes somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't just, no, I was going. You don't feel a bug push you. It just changes and it goes up your finger or turns or, you know, obviously stretching the metaphor, it may freeze or something like that. But the contact reminds me that I'm alive and I move, and this movement has intention. With the blade, meaning I intend to threaten or cut or stab or whatever. And so the practice for you is to call me on those. A little hesitation, or it kind of moved, or it wasn't really spirited, or, you know, I don't mean fast or anything, or it was just kind of de facto, yeah, I guess technically you did, but I need to feel So I'll do it poorly, kind of facing the camera a bit, and you'll see the difference. But try and see the difference. Good. Each time I get to threaten you, right? Good. So now I'll do it properly. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Right? There's a life to that blade, and I'm involved in that life. Okay? Doesn't mean it has to speed up and get exciting, but just a blade. Still touch the blade. Well, either way, I gave it to you, you took it, you still touch the blade. Okay? So try that exercise. It's really hard. It's about keeping the blade alive. If you keep the blade alive, guess what? You keep yourself alive.
Can we use that and wind up and just?
Yeah, you can print
Important
t-shirts. I think it's a great phrase.
Oh,
Is that not what you meant? Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Yeah.
We'll take 4 turns and pass the knife with the player.
Show you how hard it's to keep.
We get our own. We get our own.
Huh.
So, who makes them?
Yeah.
Steve.
Okay.
Stay there. Your rank.
Stay
Your
there.
rank. I'll hop on there. I don't think you get flashy until you give them one. Let them make contact.
Oh,
Yeah.
it comes off first.
Yeah. Let them have a
You
place. and
get
then
one
you can-
word,
yeah.
one
You get
move.
one.
I got you.
One
Try
move.
one more.
One move, 2 hands.
Yeah. Give it to Ray and I'll figure it out. You pick what,
Or just like that.
Oh, I'm supposed to do
you pick what you want to do.
There's a lot of body parts you gotta pick up around.
You're practicing all the time in your mind.
You gotta go faster.
Days off.
You gotta come in and on first contact,
Yeah.
there you go. That was way better.
That's easy.
Something else.
There's some problems. One more thing.
Watch out for your eyes. That came off close to eyes.
You're gonna hold on for dear life, it's not gonna work. Really good. Thank you, sir, nicely done.
Thank you.
You get to, let's switch it up, yeah. Now, he's doing it. Tell me, sir. Keep your line going. Get a stance. Sense, give him a good honest first one, sense what's coming, get your stance.
Yeah, that's right.
Get into it, get stable, settle in.
Supposed to be able to really block it. Come on.
Yeah, you get your first, you get to your place. What happens after that happens after that. Get to your place the right way.
So you didn't put your secondary hand up and then hand hooks out of it. If you're gonna engage, you better be ready. Yeah, and remember, it doesn't have to go to finish. I mean, it's fine, but it just has to return to threat, which could be pointing at, in range of, new target, obviously slicer, but you know, but the idea is like, you know, the snake will be looking at the target all the time. Once it stops looking, there's no threat. And And so one of the things that happens in drills is people practice, they have a live blade, but they kill it. So it's just like pro forma, here's the move, okay, cool, you got me. Or it's like I need to feel like the moment, you know, you touch, it's okay, different direction, but that's exactly what I get to do. You know, is go somewhere like a worm, you touch a worm, it moves, you know, different way. And you have a lot of articulation in these joints.
So on this.
Yeah, just even that, absolutely. It doesn't have to be a big production, you know.
I still remember your knife thing that you taught when it first started, where,
I'll meet you for a minute.
I grabbed the knife, and you went bang, you lose. I never, I mean, that's one of the best.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, right, this functions to move the mind. That was your palm, Dave. Okay, finish up.
Thanks.
So, I wanna go over an exercise next month. It's about, slow knife threat candidate or something. I'll come up with a better name for it. I just think of it as my teacher's exercise that I know. But if somebody remembers something along those lines, it's a slow, contactless knife threat game, which really wakes people up quite a bit. And it's usually paired with some speed drills to really wake you up to it. So homework is just to consider knives that don't get considered as knives. And if they're not considered as knives, people don't respond to them so defensively, whether clearing them out of an area or recognizing as a threat until it's too late. You may notice that a pair of scissors is 2 knives, and it wouldn't take very much for me to separate those 2 knives. Right? So it's just something to consider. You can experiment with them. I hesitate to say play. But also just have them in your mind. Like when you see them, think, how would I grab this? How would I hold this? Can I do the things I've been learning with these? What if somebody used one of these? And of course there's pros and cons. One of the pros being that they're everywhere and rarely defended. Like they don't put them in a scissor safe with their revolver, right? Kids have them. You know, you could be in a room and there's 5 of them, right? That can happen. So they're kind of ubiquitous in that sense, and they kind of don't register as a fear thing. I mean, if I was doing this, it probably would. But even me doing this, coming at somebody aggressively, it would be a different fear register than if I had a blade that looked like a blade. There's some element of, maybe I can handle this, I think a lot of people might have, especially if you have these primary colors and you can see it's scissors. That's not to say they can't kill and hurt and all the rest. So they have this ubiquity, but they also have a relative flimsiness. Most scissors, you could certainly find scissors that I would trade a lot of blades for. But these are just a couple scissors I have today, and I thought if I just put it in your head to consider them, contemplate them, maybe move them in your hands, maybe when you're looking at them in a drawer, you just think to yourself, oh, there's a weapon in this room. I never thought of that. I was thinking of my gun as being in the den. When I'm in my office, there's scissors. If you just start to consider it that way, or it's in your tool bag or in your car, or whatever it happens to be, it's pretty interesting thing. I keep scissors in my vehicle with flyers that you need to cut the tabs.
Yeah.
So I have one with the tabs cut, and then a bunch that are uncut, and I have scissors with them because when I go to put a flyer up, I need scissors.
Quite legitimate stuff.
That's exactly why I have scissors in my car. And they just happen to be super hefty pair,
Fiskars.
right? And you can see where I have my flyers posted up around town.
It's blood all
So I
over.
clearly do that, right? So that's something to think about. Maybe we'll actually do a few things and we'll discuss them. If we do, you may want to bring in an old pair of scissors that you're willing to have ruined. I don't need you to do that, but you may want to. so I'll plan to maybe do something with that and then do the other exercise days.
Great, good.
Questions? Great, practice. Thank you all very much. I think we're ending just about on time.